Welcome everybody to the Love and Thunder podcast, episode number 5. I'm your co-host Dave Lipson.
And I'm the other co-host, Camille Leblanc-bazinet.
Leblanc-bazinet. Today we have a killer, awesome podcast for you guys. We're going to talk about rep ranges for maximal result. We're going to talk about protein intake, and we're going to talk about how to find the right romantic life partner. But before we do that, I just want to take a second to thank our sponsors, Born Primitive, awesome, killer athleisure wear. If you guys have ever seen me hitting my leg days in my Born Primitive jorts, they're awesome, they're epic, they're flexible, they show everything.
But also just enough.
Just enough.
Yes.
And Cammy likes it.
Yeah.
We also have Nutrex Research, the finest supplements on earth. If you're looking to maximize your sports performance, do better in the gym and outside the gym, check out Nutrex with some killer products. And now as well, Cured Nutrition, they have some really cool marijuana products.
Yes,
and they seeded
mushroom stuff.
They seeded us
my
some.
favorite.
And we're gonna, the great way to kick off the podcast, I guess, is to just start by doing some drugs. So let's do some of these. So I'm going to take these. They're called the Cured Nightcaps. They're CBD, CBN, and THC. So if you look, how many milligrams of THC in a pill?
1.6.
So for those of you guys out there, the THC is the fun stuff. It's the psychoactive stuff.
Ship across states. So if you're in a state that they don't have that,
isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
they're
that's
so
the best.
smart. They're able to find their ways around some of the legality and issues.
I hate the
living in Florida, like we don't have our marijuana
I
card
hate
here.
the synthetic things like
that Delta 8 synthetic marijuana. That's no good. This
gives me bad feelings.
This is really good, pure stuff,
Yes.
but they do such a fantastic job. The brand is really impressive.
Lastly, best sleeping mattress out there. Go check out Performance Sleep.
Oh, that's right. That's gonna be good because we're taking our
Use
nighttime
code
caps.
Camille for everything.
So
and you're gonna get some discount. I'm not sure the percentage on everything, but just use Camille for everything.
Camille for everything. So the owner Joe of Cured, I was talking to him about sleep, and he was like, "Oh, I got you, bro." And he's like, obviously the mad scientist behind this stuff. So
Joe is amazing. He's like the nicest guy ever, and he's so like.
These nightcaps have CBD, CBN, and THC, and 1.6 milligrams of THC. So do some math. I got 5 pills. So how much THC is that?
I don't know.
Under 10.
Let's start talking about rep scheme. So our first.
Hold on a second. You got to take this too.
I will.
So he said these ones are really good for help getting you to sleep, but then he also.
I'm only taking one. They just took like 6. He gave me these ones.
So these are like.
The Zen is with the mushroom. I'm all about
this is mushrooms. And he said that these, because it's got like all kinds of stuff. It's got like chamomile and different types of mushroom, ashwagandha.
Chamomile is not a mushroom, by the way,
okay,
but it helps. It helps calm you down.
But this is supposed to help you stay in deep sleep. So he said take 3 of these.
He said take 3?
Take 3 of these. Okay.
I'm taking 2.
And look at me, I'm washing it down with kombucha.
I know, we're so healthy right now.
Super crunchy, Boulder, Colorado style.
Yes.
Okay, good. Now that we're all drugged up, let's start talking about some cool stuff like rep schemes. I feel like everybody has their own camp of what is the most optimal rep scheme for maximal results. You can't get results. You won't get stronger that way. You won't go bigger that way. And the truth is, we know this. There's so many ways to skin a cat. There's no one right
I just
way to
feel
do
like
things.
In the world of fitness and wellness, like nutrition and training, it's almost like everyone wants to be in this camp where I feel special in my little circle. So they like go out and find data that support their methodology, and instead of like opening their mind and understanding that a lot of methodology can get you the results, and it will give you much better results.
Did you notice that the people who are like really big advocates for a certain rep scheme, it also happens to be the rep scheme that they really like to train themselves
exactly.
and happen to be really good at? Like,
because they're comfortable
funny enough,
there.
Oh wow, the powerlifters don't to lift more than 3 reps. That's shocking, right?
Yes.
Or the endurance athletes only think that going long and ultra high rep, right?
But that's what I'm saying. I feel like people, instead of like putting their head down, doing the work, and like trying everything, they just want so badly to stay in the circle that they're in, because like that supports like what makes them feel good. Like
But
seems to be a
everything-
little bit ego driven.
Everything
But
has a
everything,
purpose,
yes,
right?
exactly. So that's what we want to go over with you guys.
And there's a context too, because like we're going to talk about all different types of rep ranges, how they should be done with regard to loading and rest periods, and what they're specifically good for, and where there
Yes.
may be some holes within that specific type of method. So let's start really low and go high. So let's talk about like low rep ranges. When we're talking about low rep ranges, we're talking about 1, 3, maybe even like a 5 rep max with heavy load. So heavy meaning like 80% of your 1 rep max
Yes.
or above. Usually people are getting close to like 90 or even 95 in the
Yes.
2 or 1 rep max ranges.
So when we talk about like reps, to just like give like a general context, low normally goes with high weight, and high reps goes with low weight.
It's only intuitive.
It just
right?
makes
Because
sense.
to get intensity. Like you're not going to get intensity out of doing low reps with really light weight or
Yes.
lighter submaximal weight, unless you're doing it like for something like speed, right?
Yes.
But either way, whether it's really heavy or really fast, the benefit of this method is really just like central nervous system development.
Yes.
Of training the brain to communicate better with the body in terms of inter and intramuscular coordination, to be able to fire motor units really hard and synchronize them really well, and the rate of force development, all that stuff, which is primarily like a neurological function.
Yes. So when we talk about low, gosh, the low and high
I'm getting a little high. I'm a little high right now.
The low rep, high weight has its place when we're really trying to develop that top end strength and that nervous system.
And because like it does tax the central nervous system so much,
Yes.
usually the rest periods have to be a little bit longer,
Yes.
because it takes a while for your central nervous system to recover. Sometimes even a 5-to-1 ratio with the work against the rest. So typically you'll see rest periods of really no less than like 2 minutes, 3 minutes. If you go longer than that, sometimes the athlete starts to actually cool down a little bit too much.
But you don't want the muscle to cool down, because then you can put yourself in a position of getting injuries.
So, here's the benefit, right? You can become wickedly strong at specifically at understanding how to get the most out of your body. So
Yes.
really good for that. Not so great, shockingly, surprisingly, for like
hypertrophy.
muscle hypertrophy,
Yes.
for muscle growth, and probably because just like
Not
the
enough
volume
time
isn't
under
there.
tension,
Yeah.
yes.
It great for bone density, like
Yes.
loading the axial skeleton. But obviously, one of the biggest downfalls of
because
this method.
most people think
like-
that if I go low rep, super high load, in their head they put it together like directly with hypertrophy, but not necessarily the best way.
Heavy doesn't always equal bigger, but from a standpoint,
I mean, you will put more muscle on, but it might not be the most effective way.
why would an athlete want to train this way always? Well, for one, and the biggest one that I've seen as a coach is just injury. It's a
Yes.
higher risk
Yes.
method, right? Because at the littlest misstep, getting out of position, a little too fast, a little too heavy, could be disastrous. So you really want to...
Because you have to push that red line, and when you go for like a 1 to 3 rep max, that's kind of when you start to go to the heavy and ugly type of place, because you're really pushing the margin of like what your body can do. And when you get so close to that failure, well, the weakest links start to fall apart.
And it's good for a test to know
Yes.
like where you're at, but athletes should use it sparingly. And if you're a power athlete, if you're someone like someone in strength sport, powerlifting, Olympic lifting, if you're a power athlete like football or even a sprinter in track, like you do need to touch this stuff to really get the benefit of developing your central nervous system. But it's not going to be the only way that you're going to train. Because obviously, it has its upsides, but also its downsides. As an athlete who's getting older, I really got to spread that out. And I know if I do that, I got to just, cross my fingers and hope for the best, because it's a little bit of a Russian roulette kind of game.
we really don't do that anymore, but it is very fun.
So let's now move up. We go to
Yes.
medium, moderate rep ranges. So for athletes
Yes.
out there, this is like probably reps that are traditional hypertrophy rep schemes, usually the 8 to 12 rep mark.
This is what you see the most in the bodybuilding world.
You go into any decent bodybuilding gym, and most people are going to be spending the majority of their time in those 8 to 12 rep ranges.
And there's a
Typically,
reason why.
It's going to be around maybe 70-ish%, maybe even 80% at the top end of their like 1 rep max strength. Although a lot of those people never even test their 1 rep max. But like, let's talk a little bit about the benefit of why an athlete would want to train like this and where the potential downsides are.
Well, 8 to 12 is a great place where you're able to have enough time under tension to build that hypertrophy, and we're also able to go to enough of a weight that we can like start building that muscle.
You can also still develop strength this way. You're still loading yourself. It's not going to develop the central nervous system the same way top end lifting will, whether it's for, like I said, for speed or for maximal load. But you will still develop strength. And I think if you're an athlete out there who's a power athlete, what you're seeing is a lot of them spend actually a lot of time in this range, but they still touch those 1 and 3 rep maxes somewhat frequently, 2 times a week maybe with some of their compound lifts. This is a really interesting because you look at this and it's kind of like middle ground, and it's hard to even poke a hole in what's the downside here. But I think from the standpoint of orthopedic safety, probably safer than top end heavy loading. Maybe not quite as orthopedically safe of somebody who's like coming off of an injury. Like you might have to actually go a little higher up and lighter weight to do that more safely. But I think the benefit here is for most people looking to build a lot of muscle, this is kind of like home base.
Yeah, I think this is a home base exactly for that. If your focus is to build musculature, this is great. You're not gonna burn like your calorie is gonna be kind of in the middle ground. Like I wouldn't call this like a depletion work where we're like really pulling thing out of your muscle, but we're just
Is it good? The drug's good? All right, awesome. It's working. All right, I gotta give Joe a message. Say the drugs are working well.
The cure is working.
Rest periods here, like anywhere usually from like 90 seconds to 2 minutes. Doesn't take the same amount of time for the central nervous system. But one thing that we've learned as athletes is even if you are training this rep scheme, it's not the same kind of maximal lifting every set because there actually is quite a bit of volume. So like if you're doing 5 sets of 8 reps, not every set is going to be an 8 rep max, but it gives you the opportunity to kind of build up and maybe hit like an 8 rep top set once or twice within a given exercise series, where those top sets between 8 and 12 are really where the strength is being developed.
You're still going to take your muscle to failure here. It's just going to be after multiple sets and a lot more overall reps.
And if you look at the intensity against the volume, obviously with more reps and more volume, you're not going to be able to preserve the same amount of intensity as if you're doing 3 sets of 3 reps as hard as you could. And now let's bring it to and this is a fun one for me because this rep scheme completely changed the game for me with all the injuries.
High reps, low weight.
High reps, low weight. This is the thing. People think like, oh, if it's light, I can't grow muscle. But that's like completely false. So when we're talking about high reps, we're talking about 15 reps plus, but really anywhere from 15 to 100. And any kind of resistance from like, lighter 60, 50, 40%, even down to things like band resistance.
I mean, you can do like body weight with adding plyometric. There's just so many ways to do this, and the goal is just always to bring your muscle to failure.
That's where people get it wrong. They think if it's light, it has to be easy. And really, with all these methods we're talking about, the common catalyst with regard to results is that you're bringing yourself close to failure consistently. Whether that be with a lightweight or a heavyweight, it doesn't matter because your body, it just wants to stay comfortable. So you have to challenge it to do things you don't want to do. This feels a lot different though, because this is like the burn pain cave city.
Yeah, we make people do this in our seminar, and every time they come to us and go, why am I sweating so much? We're doing lifting. And this is one of the nice thing about this is that it really push your whole metabolic system up because you're like starting to burn so much calorie because your heart rate is insanely elevated when we do this.
Let's talk about the physiology, like what's happening in the muscle when you're lifting for really high reps and lightweight and bringing it close to failure. So one, you're pushing a lot of blood into the muscle, but when the work continues, that blood doesn't really have an opportunity to flush out quite so much. So you create metabolic stress. All that is like inter and intracellular swelling of the fluid, the byproducts of muscle contraction, hydrogen and lactate, building up the muscle.
As your muscle or contracting
makes it feel like it's burning,
yep.
right? Because that stuff can't escape, and that's why the rest periods for these are usually generally shorter, because we want to truncate those rest periods so you don't come to a full recovery. So there's almost a compounding stress between sets. Speaking of pump, that's exactly what's happening when Arnold Schwarzenegger is talking about the pump.
Within the muscle that's working.
You're getting that cellular swelling, protein enzymatic responses of the muscle, really, really anabolic. So yes, you can totally build muscle with light weights, but it's going to really suck and it's going to really hurt.
Yeah.
Now, here's some benefits, okay? The muscle growth, that's a potential benefit. Yes. Muscle stamina, because you're asking fibers to continue to contract, that's another one. Here's something a lot of people don't talk about. It's really regenerative.
Yes.
If you have an injury and the healing factors in your body are in the blood, the best thing to do is to try to push blood into that area to get fresh healing factors in there, to flush stuff out even. So it can be really beneficial. And if you're coming off of injury, usually the thing you're not supposed to do is lift heavy.
Yeah.
So when I came off of back surgery, I was doing, 40% of my 1 rep max in lifts, but there was so much volume and so much compounding stress that I was able to put on a lot of muscle and get it back without actually having to load myself quite so heavy. And that's how we formulated that 90-day Get Huge program with our 8x8x8 system, which is 8 sets of 8 reps, done with 3-second negatives, so like a lot of time under tension, but only 30 seconds of rest. So like set 1 feels really easy. By the time you get to sets 5, 6, 7, and 8, you're like, I don't know if I can even lift this 40% weight anymore. That's really how hard it needs to be.
I don't think I'm recording, but I'm filming on the phone.
Oh no!
Do you think we can take the audio out of the phone?
I don't know. Maybe we'll take the audio out of the phone. Let's finish. I saw a number counting down there.
Me too.
Okay.
I just don't understand if I put it somewhere else.
Well, let's do this. Let's finish the podcast,
yes.
and then we
can figure it out.
Maybe this only airs on video
on YouTube.
Okay. Unfortunately, really good information. We'll re-record this as well.
It's okay. It's filming on my phone, so we can.
Okay, so now that we have no time constraints and we can just kind of go at our leisure, talk a little bit about like what is the downside to high reps? Like, what are you not getting?
You're not getting that top end strength.
You're not getting the central nervous system.
And the central nervous,
Yeah, that's it. So like if you're a power athlete, you can totally train with ultra high reps, but you still need to touch those lifts that are going to challenge the central nervous system.
I think if you're like if you're someone that like performance specific is very important to you.
It depends what type of performance too.
Okay, you are completely right. If you're a sprinter.
Stop. Can we just clip that? Clip the "you're completely right." End of podcast. Game over.
Yes, if you're a power lifter, weightlifter, sprinter, someone who has something very, very explosive as a like time frame for your sport, like if you only train this way, you're definitely gonna miss out on like things that are very beneficial for you.
Yeah, so you're really.
But everyone should do everything.
And that's the thing is we were talking about this before, like even beyond like what you're training for. Everyone has different physiology and genetics and muscle fiber types.
Yes.
Some people have a lot of fast twitch fibers. They're probably going to respond a lot better to lower rep ranges. Some people have a lot of more endurance slow twitch fibers. They may respond more to higher rep ranges. So by casting a wide net, you're able to not miss anybody. So when we program our programs, we give people a lot of variety. One, first and foremost, to keep them safe.
Yes.
And 2, to make sure that they're getting enough different stimulus that no matter who you are, there's going to be something in there that you're really going to respond to.
Yes. And also, I mean, no matter what you're training for, all the fibers you have gets attacked in different way as you varied your training. And that includes the rep scheme and the load. And if you leave some fiber out, you're obviously not getting the full benefit of what your musculature can do.
This is like the CrossFit adage.
So you want to do it all,
The variety also creates like versatility.
Yes.
And that's what I like about like just traditional bodybuilding versus how we kind of meld things together is, I believe that like the best looking guy should also be the most athletic guy.
100%.
Or girl.
Yes. I think the funny thing now is that like a lot of the training out there, it's almost like too focused on looking a certain way or performance itself, and I feel like the health component gets really like put to the side
when you start mushing things together. I think you
in general
you stop missing things. I honestly believe you're going to be healthy, but you're going to be healthier.
Let me finish.
Okay, go ahead. I'll give you the floor.
Why did you cut me? What I was gonna say is that someone could look like healthy and awesome,
or look strong,
and someone could like be like super performance and seem healthy. That doesn't mean that they are healthy, but someone who is like performant and health driven, normally they look like that.
How often do we see guys that look like they're the world's strongest guys on the planet, and we're so shocked that like they're not that strong?
Yes.
Or vice versa. How often we see people who look like kind of wiry average Joes, and all of a sudden you're like, God damn, that person is really fucking strong.
Yes.
And I think it's because, you know, maybe the small guys, if they're doing the right type of training and have the right genetics, they just understand how to use it better.
Oh, there's so much, you know, there's two ways to get stronger, right? Have the right mind-muscle connection, have like your nervous system and understanding like just that wiring between your brain and your muscle to move well and engage your muscle well. So using the equipment properly, and the other way is building the equipment.
And just training.
So some people have the equipment but don't know how to use it, and other people don't have as much equipment but really know how to use it. That's what she says.
Exactly.
Yes.
And training one way, you know, it always has its downside to what it's missing.
Yes.
Right? So if you're out there and you really like training and you want to stay healthy and you love doing this stuff, I really recommend leaning on variety so that you don't end up creating patterns or creating the same type of stress to the point where either you start breaking down or plateauing. But really, for me, breakdown is the thing I'm most afraid of, because I really love to train.
Yes. I think like something for me through my whole career that was the most eye-opening thing was how much strength I developed once I focused a little bit more on my endurance. Like I remember starting to work with Insha, I started to get stronger. And it was just because in the past, I think, missed out on like true endurance training.
Yep.
Like I thought I was doing endurance and CrossFit, but it wasn't endurance. I was still in that like mid-range type of deal.
All right, let's flip it. We'll go to subject number 2.
Subject number 2, protein.
Protein intake.
How much, what they do, tell me what to do.
Start with like why is protein important? Why do people need to know how much protein they're eating? What are the benefits of this macronutrient?
Gosh, it's like your little guy that comes in, or girls, or all of them that just come in and literally they like build everything. Like the nice thing about protein is that it's this molecule that is bipolar. So it can be positive and negative.
So it's like moody one day, locks itself in the bedroom the next day, and then
I would say it's more like
writing screenplays.
It's like fluid. It's like it can be either one. Because if it's around something positive, then the negative side will attach to it and do something.
Okay.
And vice versa. So the protein is there to like find those like positive and negative space, attach it, and then like neutralize.
You completely lost me, but for the meatheads out there, obviously, you guys know it's really important for protein synthesis and building muscle. You know,
for longevity, like
breaks down the
protein
branched chain
is
amino
number
acids.
1.
Those are the building blocks of muscles. Important for cognitive function.
I might be wrong for that. But
important for brain development. Important for bone density.
Yes.
You know,
cognitive
important
function.
for avoiding things like anemia. You know, obviously a lot of benefits here. Also, something that people don't always talk about is how it affects the metabolic rate, because it takes a lot more energy for your body to process protein, right? So it's got to work harder. So it's great for fat loss.
Yes.
It's great for increasing your metabolic rate.
That's why we get the meat sweat.
The meat sweats, exactly.
The meat sweat.
Or like work really hard to process
often,
all that
yes,
meat.
people often, when they increase their protein intake, this is a feedback we get all the time. They get hot. They're like, I don't know why I'm more hot, and it's
sweating profusely.
It's kind of the body just having to work a little harder to break it down.
So when people get protein, typically we will recommend that they get it from animal sources first, if they can, if they're not vegan or they have access to it. And it's because these animal sources have the most complete panel of branched chain amino acids that are going to contain all of those BCAAs that their body needs to function and thrive. But obviously there's other forms, like here I got my Isofit Whey proteins. This is like a derivative of milk essentially. But I like this for for late night snacks. If I don't want to fill my stomach up and get some good sleep, it's not too heavy on the gut. It's already broken down and it's quick to absorb. So when you're in that kind of anabolic window immediately after a workout, if you take this with some carbohydrates, it is, on the fast track to your muscles.
And what you really want to see so here, this company is awesome because they really, this is Nutrex Research Isofit. They break down the amino acid profile in it. And what you really want to look at is the leucine. Make sure that you get a protein with leucine. That's the one that has been shown to work the best.
And the protein synthesis, the nutrient uptake. This one is also lactose free. So if you're out there and you're like me and the lactose does not do well, protein farts, much better, much better with this. Good flavors. So obviously that's another way that you can get it, but how much?
Yes, how much?
Not money. Not money, how much? But you use the code Guns Out with Nutrex, you get 30%
or Camille.
off. Yeah, exactly. But how much protein in a day should somebody be eating?
Yes, so I think, between 0.7 to 3 grams per pound, depending on what you want to accomplish. So that is super vague.
So from 0.7 to 3 grams per pound of body weight. So if I'm a 200-pound male, I'd be eating 600 grams of protein. Now, actually,
depend what you want to accomplish,
but I've seen
right?
that before. I mean, that's very extreme.
That is extreme.
But I've seen that. I think most people
So this is very vague, but for most people, we want start them at 1 gram per pound.
The most people I see that we work with,
and we're talking lean body weight.
They're not insane. They're not doing crazy drugs. They're not, they're usually in that 0.7 to maybe 1.5 range per pound of body weight. And I think as a guy, at least, starting with a gram per pound is a super easy way, just a baseline. To be like, am I getting enough protein? How would you know? Well, if you're eating the calories and you're not really building a muscle, you could bump it up. You could go to 1.5 or 1.25. Or if you feel fine, but you're really bloated and it's too much protein, you can go down to 0.7. So you have some adjustability, but it's pretty moderate in terms of what we mostly recommend.
And when you want to eat, you want to stay at about 25 grams of protein per meal.
25 grams, but that's got to be based on your body weight, right?
If most women would be there, otherwise you're not really going to process it. It's going to be too much.
If I'm a guy and I'm heavier, obviously I have a higher daily protein requirement, and the only way I'm getting this is usually in my meals. So unless I'm eating a lot more meals,
I don't know what that would be for you, but for someone like me, it's about 25.
Yeah, or if you think about meal frequency, most people were usually recommending that you get something in about every 3 to maybe 4 hours. So that usually breaks down to 5 to 6 meals per day. You just take your total daily number, divide it by the meals that you expect to eat, and all of a sudden you know how much protein you should have in each meal. So you're so high you can't. She's laughing hysterically. So let's do some math, okay? Let's do some math now that you're high, okay? So if I'm trying to get 250 grams of protein and I'm eating 5 meals a day, how many grams in each meal? Go. 50. Look at you. Ding ding. It's what is 50? What is 50 grams? It has to be in the form of a question. This is Jeopardy.
What is 50 grams? Well, it depends what you're eating.
Oh, probably chicken and beef and a little bit of protein powder.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh gosh, this is going downhill.
I know. It's not even recording, so I don't even know if we're just talking for the sake of talking, or who knows. Maybe it's recording. Fingers crossed. I doubt
it. So small ways that we can figure out if it's too much, because it can be too much for some people. We can follow blood work.
Well, the primary
check your kidney
that you're
function.
You're really thinking about is and digestion, right?
Yes.
If you just if your digestion is turning to shit,
literally,
but poor, not good digestion. Yes. Yeah, you might have to modify it, or the kidneys have to process all this protein if all of a sudden your urine is a different color and really smelly or really foamy. That can indicate additional stress on your kidney. Foamy, like bubbles. Like you've never seen, that's funny to you? Foamy. Is it the word foamy? Bubbles. Bubbly?
No, I just imagined it.
Like a foamy urine. Foamy urine is like a thing. It's everywhere.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know if maybe you don't look in the toilet, but like every guy's urinal, there's always foam in the urine.
Oh, like it doesn't come out as foam.
No. It comes out, but when it's like splashing, it gets foamy, right? Okay. Anyways, so yeah, you can look at your CK levels. Sometimes it's kind of determine like what and sometimes that's affected by your training volume. But the point is, just pay attention to that stuff a little bit.
Most people who have a lot of muscle, their CK level are higher.
I talked to Stan efforting about this one, and because he knows like I'm always kind of like keeping an eye on my kidneys, and he said, honestly, just like drink more water. It helps you process that stuff. Yeah. So you might have to increase your water intake.
Water is great for digestion. So.
Yeah. Okay, so last subject, nothing to do with fitness, but also I think we're all talking about like health here, right? And this is part of your health, not just in the gym, but in your daily life and at home.
Your heart health.
Your heart health is like how to pick the right partner. How to pick the right lover.
Out of that. I sound like that. So easy. So easy. Just pick one.
We're coming up on our 10-year wedding anniversary, and we both had previous partners before and have friends that have been through multiple marriages and multiple boyfriends and girlfriends, and also have heard a lot of the typical complaints of how it's so hard to find a guy or a girl or this and that, and
well, I think it is. I think we're lucky. Let's start with that.
I don't think it's ever been easier to find a guy or a girl. You can just go on whatever, TikTok it up, Tinder, go to Instagram, go to CrossFit. It's so easy to meet.
I mean, people. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, I feel like we're lucky.
People
that
have never been more connected.
Yeah, but also disconnected.
And you have to think about, like, well, there's so many people that are getting connected. Like, what they're probably, are they looking at the wrong things? Because I think immediately, especially as a guy, when you are selecting a female mate or partner, the first thing you probably look at is your physical attraction to that person, right? Like, is she hot? Do I want to have sex with her? Whatever.
Tell me more.
It is the strongest human emotion. It is the powerful, life-giving force that we call sexuality. And a lot of times,
sexuality and emotion.
Emotion, and it's very repressed in a lot of people. They're not allowed to tell them how they feel, this and that. But I think that's honestly the first thing when it comes. You're at the bar, you're looking around, who looks hot? You're in the gym.
Attraction.
And you see this. That's one part of it, and it's an important part, but it's not the only part.
Definitely not.
And I think that what I've learned with you is that when you can connect with somebody physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, it just makes it makes the relationship so much better and more meaningful. And I think if you consider those things when you're dating someone or talking to somebody, is like, maybe just try to focus on, like, is this a person I would want to be alone with on like a 10-hour car ride stuck in behind the wheel? That's the person who's going to be a good partner for you, not the one who's just like the hottest, right? I mean, in your case, you just want the hottest guy, you should want. But
yeah, I think I don't know. I feel like it's such a big question to find the right person, because like, just looking at me and you, I think why we're still together is because we've grown together. Because the me now would most likely not be with the you back then, and the you back then would, might not have been with the me at another time in my life, if that makes sense.
I think that's the spiritual part.
I think
the fact that we're on so much on the same page with who we are spiritually, no matter what happens or where we go, that I am with you.
Yeah, we do. We push each other to grow, and I think that there is, I don't know, it's like sometimes like you grow ahead of me, and then like I catch up, and then I grow ahead of you and you catch up, but I think we keep growing together, and that's why work together. But I feel like there's nothing wrong with growing apart and then finding someone else at a point that like meets you in that path, if that makes sense.
You go out to a bar and you get dressed up. You
Yes.
put on your best outfit, all your makeup. I'm putting the wax in my hair and making sure I have boogers. Most of the time I do. But everyone is hiding those other parts. Everyone's hiding those emotional, spiritual, and intellectual parts because that takes some vulnerability to show that.
Oh my God, I think about this all the time, like playing the game of being like
who you think they want you to be.
Oh no way. Gosh, I'm so sorry for everyone on the dating scene. That is not something.
I don't want to date anybody. I mean, I like to date you guys, hang
but
out
I
with you
don't.
and my daughter, but
I don't know. I'm not there, so I can't say. But I don't think I would want to do that or be that.
And so I don't know. I think
maybe like maybe just being like very. I was me since the get-go with you.
Cammie's very authentic, okay? I think that's why I was immediately really attracted to her as a person.
Maybe that's why I don't understand how to do the other way.
Because I'm the same way. There's no filter. I've honestly, like, I have nothing to hide. I tell you everything. Yeah, I do marijuana. I take testosterone. I'm very honest with my feelings, and I'm not afraid to talk about what my flaws are either. Like, I just don't care. I think life is too precious to spend time wasting your energy on that stuff. And I want to bring joy into the world. And when I saw Cammie, that was like the first thing I noticed about her is like she sparkled. Not like just physically sparkled, but like her spirit was sparkling. And I'm like, that's the person I want to be around. That's my partner right there.
I get very excited when I like things.
Yeah. But anyways, so yeah, I don't know what that has to do.
How do we find a mate?
Maybe the next time you're swiping right until you see something you like, maybe just...
I mean, I know for myself, and it might be because I'm authentic, I find people who don't hide who they are, that might be like quoted as a little bit weird, I find them very attractive.
Yeah.
Like, I want to get to know them. They are obviously so in line in some aspect of who they are. Like, they know who they are in some aspect, and they just embrace it all the way without trying to go into a mold. And I've always been attracted to that.
Why do you think people are so scared to like show who they really are?
Oh, I think that most people grew up with some sort of like shame and guilt, and you get like tamed down with the society to fit in a mold. Like,
so how did you get over that? Because obviously you don't have that. You show people exactly who you are. Like I mean, I could talk about me, but I want to talk about you.
Well, you kind of know me.
Yep.
I have a very rebellious side of
you don't want to be told what to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially from like someone who doesn't know me. Like, what is it about like people going out there and trying to tell other people what they want them to do? Like, that's insane to me. Why control other people? Just like support them to shine in their own way. I've never liked that for as long as I can remember.
Well, I'll tell you,
I would never do anything. Like, I was always a good kid, like a very good kid, like always coming from a place of kindness and love, just wanted to help. And somehow it's like everyone wants to put you in a box.
Yeah.
And I didn't fit that box because I was I was thriving in sport. I wanted to be good at school. I was just like doing so many things that I never fitted in a box. Like, it never. And for me, it was like, why can't I be everything? Why can't I? So I feel like once I like started to train and all of that, it was still that freaking box of a girl should be skinny, a girl should be weak, a girl should be this. And I just felt like that triggers so many string inside my heart that I thought I would become that girl.
If you look at athletes like CrossFit girls, do you think there's the opposite of that going on, where like all of them are taught to be like, strong is beautiful, and you're going to be a tough girl? And do you think there are girls that are like afraid to be girly girls, who are afraid to be unquote like basic bitches, like who are in that like competitive athlete realm?
Oh, I'm sure.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure because it just seemed like where you end up, everyone wants you to look and act like everyone else. Like, it doesn't matter what circle you're in, but I feel like people wants to like always kind of class those circle, and it feels good for people to have predictability. Is that the word? It feels good for people to be able, you go in this box, you go in this box, you go in this box, I know what I have, and when you're out, it's like...
I think most people are insecure.
But I think when it's out, it's beautiful.
I think most people are insecure. And when you're growing up, they want you to fit in a box to fit their insecurities. To give them a sense of validation that the way they are is right.
Like they want to see your flaws, so they feel better about them. And if you're
not that way, then you get shamed for it, or you're not that kind of stuff. And I'm telling you this, like, I know we're talking about relationships, but I think this is true in so many aspects of life. I would rather fail miserably, being exactly who I am, than succeed wildly being somebody that I'm not.
Ew.
Because to me, that just feels like control.
Yes.
And it feels like fucking control. And you and I
don't want people
to try to control us. And you don't want me to control you, and I don't want you to control me. And we have to accept who we are about each other. But I think when we're talking about how to pick a partner, it's important to be on the same page with that stuff.
Yeah, I think like a long time ago, we kind of came up to the realization that you're going to do what you want to do and I'm going to do what I want to do. And instead of like trying to force me to do whatever you want to do and me forcing you to do whatever I want to do, which I literally remember, I say this to you all the time, I'm like, well, you're going to do what you want to do. So let's just figure this out instead of like me trying to like, control what you're doing so everything is like perfect on my side. It's like, well, let's compromise it. You're gonna want to do this, I'm gonna want to do that, so let's go.
And that's exactly how all of our arguments go. That's exactly it's never any screaming or shouting, there's never even crying or yelling, no one's ever punched a wall before, but it's just, oh well, you're gonna do what you're gonna do, so let's figure it out. And we eventually get there 6 or 7 days later.
Yes. But I guess the bottom line of all of this is we're very authentic with each other and we're honest with what we want. Yeah, and I think... And we're also honest with love, sometimes with some tough love with each other.
And when it comes to picking a partner, you have to consider those things because those are actually the real important things. People, you're attracted to each other. Guess what? You're going to get older. And what you were attracted to initially, it's going to be replaced by something else that just connects you to a person. But you have to be able to find that stuff because that's how I think it endures. Okay, well, maybe this is recorded, maybe it's not. I have no idea. I'm not going to hold it against Cammie. I know she's already sensitive about that, so I can't say any kind of like, I told you so, why didn't you push the button? That can't be said. But we hope you enjoy this podcast, and we will see you later.
And we're going to sleep so good tonight. I can feel it.